Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and welcome back today to I'm not really sure what kind of video today is, but it's a video that I've been wanting to make for a little while, and it's kind of opinion, just wanting to get something out there. I've had a lot of people who are in my position agree with me on this. All I can say is, guys, please, before you start just abusing me in the comments of the video, please watch the whole video. Please watch what I have to actually say and not just take one thing out of context. So basically, I'm not going to waffle on much more. What is today's video about? Today's video is about the Object 907. The tier 10 Russian premium, well, not premium, but reward tank that you get for playing a Clan Wars season. Now, why am I deciding to do a video about the 907? Because basically, I want to say to people, look, the 907 is not as overpowered as everyone thinks, and can people stop using it as an excuse for when they get killed by it and saying it's overpowered and bad for the game? Don't start raging in the comments. Listen to what I said at the start. Let me prove my point. Now, this video, I'm just going to go through everything, basically, that I feel is relevant to the point of why I don't think the 907 is as broken as people think. Now, my first point is, I'm one of the people who I would say can actually be quite objective about this. If you look at my games played, in the excuse me, in the Object 140, I've played 437 games, and in the 907, I've played 446. I've played about the same in both. Okay, so I would say I've got a pretty good overall opinion on both tanks. So before everybody starts saying, because this is something that annoys me, and this is one of the reasons that I'm making the video, is a lot of community contributors. Now, I'm not having a go here. I'm not starting just hurling insults around and everything, but most of the bigger community contributors don't have a 907. They don't. People like Daki, yes, he does. I'm not sure. I don't think Sircon does. People like that. But a lot of them don't actually have a 907. All they actually see is people playing them. People like Quickie Baby. I'm going to use him as an example. Again, I'm not having a go. This is just using as an example. He says a lot of things about the 907 and how it's quite ridiculous. Yet he hasn't got one, and he's never really played one and only seen other people play it. And that's going to be a point that I make a bit later on. But I just wanted to make this video just to put out there, what I think. So this is partly my opinion, guys. So I can't be wrong on my opinion, although some people really do try their hardest to say, yes, you can. This is partly my opinion, partly what I've heard from other people, like in my clan and stuff like that, who actually have the 907, and things like that as well. So first thing we're going to do is jump across into Tanks GG. I'm hoping, yeah, I've got Tanks GG up. And I'm just going to go through, you can't argue with this, these are the stats. These are the base values for the Object 140 and Object 907. So the 907 does have the better DPM. Better rate of fire, just flat out, that's better. It does have worse ammo capacity, which to a lot of people, that's not the worst thing in the world. It has made me come unstuck a couple of times. Only 45 rounds of ammunition, especially when you're only doing 320 damage, is not that much, and I have run out of ammunition before. But then again, speaking objectively, speaking in regard to both, the 140s isn't exactly massively high either, but it is definitely a down point for the 907. Now we come on to the gun handling, something that I feel people don't appreciate, and something as well, if I added the 62A in, this would be made a lot worse on the 907, and I think this is one of the main points to why the 907 is not as much of a godly tank as people think it is. At the same time, is better, yes. Cool. Its dispersions are worse by over, by a third, like half again of the 140s worse. This cancels out this aim time, if not a little bit more. You can't fire on the move anywhere near as well as you can in the 140 and the 907. It just doesn't happen. With improved equipment, everything like that, and full crew, blah, 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 it's good. I'm not saying it's not good. It is good, but it's nowhere near as good as the 140, and I'd much rather have the tank in the 140. Also, 0.36 dispersion, again, worse than the 140. There are times when you do feel this. Yes, it's only 0.1, but sometimes you have it. We have, again, I don't know if it's the right place, if any massively good Clan Wars players are watching this, just screaming your head off, going, oh my god, you noobs. Before, this was a couple of seasons back, so a couple of years ago, so don't moan at me about this. We have used 140s instead of 907s in some places because of their better sniping, because they can snipe at tanks better. They've got the better accuracy, especially on like crossings and stuff where the tanks are 500 meters away, stuff like that. So that's definitely a downside to the 907, the gun handling and everything. And then probably one of the main reasons, 5 degrees of gun depression, again, over 6 on the 140. Now, you notice I'm not comparing this tank to the T62A, and that's because I think it's widely regarded that the 140 is better than the T62A. So I'm not going to do that because there's no point comparing it to the 907, which is slightly better than the 140, which is slightly better than the 62A. There's no point comparing those two because then it's just going to look worse. It's just what it is. But 5 degrees of gun depression compared to the 146, it's inflexible. There has been a lot of times where I've been up on a ridge and the enemy tank is there and my aim's here. 1 degree would have got me that thing. I find there's so many more places in the game you can work with 6 degrees as opposed to working with 5 degrees. The speeds of the tank is the exact same, like the top speed and the reverse speed. The 907, again, does have slightly better engine power, giving it slightly better horsepower per ton. But again, the soft stats kind of take that away. They are worse. The terrain resistances are worse, which this is probably still a little bit better, having that slightly better engine power in most situations. But it's not as big as that. What is that? 0.83? It probably takes it down to about 0.3 horsepower per ton actually better. Because again, playing platoons a lot with people with 140s, and you don't notice the difference. Like, if we're both driving somewhere, you don't notice the difference. The only time you really notice the difference is if you're driving up a hill or something like that, like on Himmelsdorf, something like that, and the 907 will pull ahead a little bit, but not by a lot. Not by a lot at all. Turret traverse is just flat out better. That's just one of the things that the 907 is like. Yeah, cool, better. Armor will come on to in a minute. And the hit points as well. Again, just flat out better. I'm not going to argue that. I can't argue with statistics. It is just better. It's 100 extra more health. Now, on something that I don't think people appreciate about the 907 compared to the 140, and that is the armor. Now, hands down, I'm not going to argue anything about the hull armor. The hull armor on the 907 is better. This angled V-hull, when you angle it and it becomes really trolly, you do, obviously, both of these tanks have got the APCR from the 140 and 907 firing at them. They're the same gun, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see here, side of the 140 is very, very easy. It has got a little bit of angle. Look, so when people go, oh, the 140, it has got that curved side a little bit, just obviously not quite to the same extent as the 907, and it is slightly more trolly. Side armor, 100% better on the 907. Again, I'm not going to argue that. Frontal armor on the hull, again, the 907 is a lot more trolly. If I just put the tank straight on, you can see this is all green. This is very much not, and you can bounce shells off this. However, I would like to say that people need to aim better. People really, 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 really need to learn to aim better, not just auto-aim at this tank, bounce off it and go, oh, the armor's overpowered. If you look at this tank, again, I'm shooting at it with a 140. Wherever I angle it, there is always somewhere on the tank that is green. Even if you were to side scrape in this thing, even if you side scrape, like that. If you aim, this is still only 200 millimeters thick. And you can't aim it anymore. Very few people who try and reverse side scrape this thing. And you might think, oh, well, that's just completely broken. You can't possibly pen that. What about that 25mm ranging deck that, because of the shape of the hull, you can actually hit? Unless he's using gun depression, but even then, you can probably squeeze shots in, and he has cupolas. So, again, yes, the 907 hull is better than the 140s. But please use your brains when you're shooting at it. Don't just auto-aim and go, oh, it's overpowered. No, can't possibly pen this thing. It's a load of shit. You got to use your brains. And yes, sometimes you get unlucky and you'll aim here and the shot will go here and it'll bounce. And that wouldn't happen in the 140. But again, aim. Use your brains. Now on something that I think a lot of people don't really, again, understand about the 907. The turret is trash. The turret is seriously trash compared to the 140s. I would take the 140 turret over the 907 turret any day of the week. Obviously, the 140, if you just look at them both frontal on, they look relatively similar. Both got spots that you can go through. But the 140s is stronger. It's about 10 to 20 millimeters stronger, even in the weakest parts. The 907, you can go through places like this, 250 millimeters. That's over a 50% chance. That's a 60% chance of going through with the standard rounds of this thing. Also, the roof. If you're slightly above this tank, this thing still has the ridiculously weak roof. And I'd like to point out that this bit here that's pink for this tank, if we put this up against, just as an example, oh god, T95E6. I'm just doing this because it's a 120mm gun, okay? Sorry, not 120mm. I didn't mean to do that. 122mm is what I want. 430, where is it? There you go. 430. Look at the turret of this tank. Look how much of that is overmatchable. So if you're in a Russian heavy, if you're in a tank destroyer, anything like that, the roof of this tank is overmatchable. It's only got 40mm of armor. But then, like I said again, even if you are in a 140, if you've got a 140 shooting against this thing, it still has a very, very weak spot on the top of it that's only 25mm thick. Compared to the 140, where it's 30mm thick and it's right at the back of the turret. From the front, you have to be a long way above this tank to be able to overmatch. And at that point, it doesn't matter anyway. The 140 turret is better. They've both got cupolas, so before everybody says, oh, well, they haven't got cupolas, 907's got cupolas, 140's got cupolas, they're quite similar. And I would also argue as well that the side turret on the 907 is worse than the 140. Because this area here is a lot bigger, you're a lot more likely to bounce off, especially at angles like that. Compared to the 907, you've got a lot more space to bounce, and it's a lot thicker on the 140. So again, 907 is not that good. If you fire heat rounds at this thing from a 140, you pretty much go through everywhere here. You go straight through. The 140, you've got to be further in. It's not as good. And again, this might be where you're looking at it going, I can't really see a difference. This is where the playing 400 games of each tank comes in, and I can tell you the 140's turret is better. 100%. So those are the actual the tanks, the things you can't argue about, the stats. You can't argue with those. It's just not a thing you can argue about. Now, before all of you go, well, Max, you're just saying that they're the same. No, they're not. No, they are not. The 907 is a better tank. I'm quite happy to put that out there. The 907 is a better tank. Maybe 3, 4, 5% better than the 140. But it is, what I'm trying to make the point about is it's not this tank that is godly and is impenetrable and has a ridiculous gun. It's not that. It's a slightly better 140, which is why Clan Wars players play it. If you have a 140 and a 907, you play the 907. Because of that trolley armor that bounces a lot more, because of that rate of fire, and when you min-max the tanks, the disadvantages aren't as big as, like, it doesn't really matter about the disadvantages. That's why the 907's played, and yes, it's better. But again, a lot of people for Cloud Wars, they'd sacrifice a lot of time to get this. And I'm making this video because we've got another Clan Wars campaign coming up in a week's time. So, you know, just getting it out there. It's better, but seriously not that good. And that's where my next point comes across. The players that play it. The 907 has only got 25,000 players playing the tank. 25,198. The Object 140 has got 205,000. Looking at the stats, 140, 1,800 average damage. 907, 2,500. That's quite a lot more. Average win percentage, 57% compared to the 140's 50%. 2,000 average WN8 compared to 1,500. Well, Max, by looking at that, surely the 907 is just completely overpowered and should be removed from the game. No. The reason the 907 stats are that much better is because of the caliber of players that have it. If you said, right, we're adding in this new tech tree Soviet medium tank that is the exact same as the 140, but you can only get it if you're above 1,500, 1,800 WN8, and the most people who get it are going to be 2,500, 3,000 WN8. Okay, cool. Let's add that in. Where do you think that tank's going to be? Do you think that tank's going to be down here with the 140? No, that tank's going to be up here with the Object 907. The reason the 907 outperforms the 140 so much, again, based on the pure statistics, is because of the caliber of players that have it. It's a reward tank. Only the best players get it. Only the better players get it. And again, it comes back to the whole thing of should the best players have the better tanks? Arguably, yes, because otherwise what's the point of being good at the game, committing a lot of time into the game? This is something, again, this is a whole different kettle of fish. This is a whole different can of worms. So don't go, I could make a lot more points about this, but I think that the better players should have something that your average Bob can't just get, because they've put time into the game, they've put effort into the game and learning it, everything like that. I think they should have. But that is one of the main reasons why the 907 is better than the 140 based on statistics. And it's another reason, I'm going to just jump back into the garage. It's another reason why the 907 has got this thing around it of it's just impenetrable. It outplays everything. It's usually because the player playing it was going to outplay you anyway. Whether they were playing in a 907, whether they were playing in a 140, whether they were playing even in a T62A. 9 times out of 10, in that situation, they were going to outplay you anyway. It doesn't matter whether they play in a 907 or a 140. It doesn't matter if you bounce that one shot or not. You were still going to get screwed. You were still going to get absolutely screwed. And that's probably, again, my second point to why it's not as overpowered as people think. It's the players. The better players have the tank. It's just how it is. It's like I said. If you said, right, we're taking the Object 140 away from everybody who's got lower average damage in it than 2,000. The 140 would all of a sudden look like it was this mythical tank that, oh my god, you can't pen. It's got a crazy rate of fire. Why can't I ever beat it? That's one of my main points. And I think the final point, because I'm aware I'm waffling on quite a lot about this now, and you guys, if you're still watching, probably want me to shut up. But I'm hoping that I'm making some interesting points. If we go in my service record, if we look at vehicles, and again, if we look at the 907s, so just here, and the Object 140 just here, and look at the difference in stats. 437 games on the 140, 52% wins, 826 average XP, and my average damage is 2,300. Nearest damage makes no difference. Okay, that's not incredible. Me personally, really annoyed about that because it's quite bad. Then you look at my 907, 446 games played, 62% wins, 1,104 average XP, 3,400 average damage. Again, You're looking there, sitting there, looking at that, going, holy crap, the 907's completely overpowered, please remove it from the game. No. Since I've got my 907, I pretty much haven't played the Object 140. I've got the 907 since I've been a better player. I've played the 907 over the past, I can't remember how long I've had it, year or 2 years. Whereas I played the Object 140 for the 3 years previous to that. And to be honest, the year, or maybe even 2 years previous to that, I didn't play it that much because I'm pretty sure the Object 140 was about my 3rd or 4th tier 10 tank. So instantly you can take the first 200 games that I played in this tank off of that, because back then I was probably 1000 WN8 compared to, since I've been playing this thing, 2000 and now 2100, and I play at 3000. So it's another thing, if you look at people's stats, is mostly when they get the tank. They've had the tank a lot more recently. They've learned how to play the Russian mediums in their 140. And then they've basically gone, here, have this tank that is slightly better, and have fresh stats in it, and go just know what you're doing straight from the start. And again, because it's a premium tank, you can put your 6 skill crews in it. Mine's almost a 7 skill Object 140 crew. And you can just chuck that crew straight in. That's why it's better. And again, a lot of people are the better players in the game. It's the tank they play most often in Clan Wars, things like that. So they're going to set it up like me. I know you're all sitting there looking at this going, well, you've got an improved rammer, you've got improved vents, you've got a directive, premium consumable. This is why. This is going back to that second point I made about it's just the better players playing. If the 907 didn't exist and I was playing the 140 that much in Clan Wars, I'd probably do this to that. But this tank is special to me. This tank, I spent 2-3 weeks of my life playing World of Tanks every single night. And not just grinding, not getting really anything for it other than the 907 at the end. And as well, you obviously, to get the 907, you've got to be such a good player. You've got to know how to play Clan Wars, which means you're going to just be good anyway. And I've put all of this equipment on here because just to show the amount of time that I've spent putting into the game to get this tank. And that's without all of the years that I spent grinding up to the 140, grinding up to the Super Conqueror, grinding up to all of these other Clan Wars rewards, Clan Wars meta tanks that you need to play well in Clan Wars to get the tank. And that's just what I think about this. You guys your opinions may differ. You may think that, Max, you're talking out your ass. The 907 is just better. I just want draw a line on everything I've just said. Conclusions. The 907 is a better tank than the 140, but not by that much. The 907 is played by better players who are more experienced at the game. It's going to be played better anyway. And the 907 is usually they've learned how to play the game before they get it, which is why their statistics in it are so much better, because they don't have those statistics from when they first played Russian medium tanks at tier 10 and didn't really know what they were doing for the first 100 games. Those are probably my 3 main points for the 907. And why it's better. I'm saying it's better, so everyone who's going, oh my god, it's better. It is, but not by that much. So I just don't want people to keep having this thing of, oh my god, he's playing a 907, it's completely ridiculously overpowered, go screaming on the forums and crying like a little girl. No. Just think about it. Nobody I know who has the 907, when they're playing against it, has a problem penning it. Because they're good players, they think about where they need to shoot it. Yes, you get unlucky sometimes, but you can get unlucky against all tanks. It's a better tank, but not by that much. Simple as that. I'm not going to go on anymore, because I just feel like I'm repeating myself. But anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative, and for some of you, I hope it's opened your eyes a little bit to actually think about it and not just blatantly go, you know, just start crying about it. I just wanted to do this video because I really don't feel that there's much reference between these two tanks, because like I say, a lot of community contributors and stuff, they don't really have a lot of time to go, oh, here's a video. Not a video. I need to spend 3 weeks now getting this Clan Wars reward tank. So like I say, people like Quickie Baby, people like Des Games, people like Circumflexes, they don't have the tank. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because like I said to you, I've played 400 games in both this and the 140. I'd like to think I have at least a semi-objective view about each tank. And I hope this has helped you guys out a lot. But yeah, enough of me talking. My voice is starting to hurt, and that's why I haven't been doing a lot of YouTube videos recently. But I hope you have enjoyed the video, guys. Like I said, if you have found it informative or enjoyed it in any way, please consider giving the video a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And other than that, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.